Hi everyone, and welcome to Lurking for Legends, a live video cast where normally we do live reads. Tonight's going to be a little bit different. I'm Christie Stratus, historical suspense and historical fantasy author, and my awesome co-hosts here are epic fantasy author Richard H. Stevens and
Hello.
science fiction author David M. Kelly.
All right.
Lurking for Legends is an interactive broadcast, and we encourage you all to comment and ask us any questions you may have. So, like I said, tonight's going to be a little bit different. We're going to have a roundtable discussion, like a triangular table discussion between just the three of us. And feel free to ask us anything. This is an Ask Us Anything Q&A type of thing. And in the meantime, we have lots of things to discuss anyway. But yeah, it's an Ask Me Anything hour. So a little bit different. And then next month we will be back to doing our usual live reads. So let's I guess we'll start off like we always do and see what everybody's up to.
All right, you go ahead, Dave.
Well, I'm back to writing the second Hyperion Jones book.
Good.
After taking a bit of time off to do other things. But I'm working back into it, and I've added about 1,500 words today. So that's going nicely.
That's good.
This will be Hyperion Jones and the Eye of Time.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
So take that from that what you want.
I have guesses.
Now, Hyperion, she's a septipod. Is that what she is?
Septipod, yeah.
Oh, look at that! I got it right. I don't normally get these things right. That's one for me. That's probably the only one we're getting today. But.
Yeah, she's kind of like descended from sort of octopus-like creatures on another world.
I assume the eye is going to be literal. That's my assumption.
Well, you never know with Hyperion.
Could be anything.
It could well be anything. But yeah, so that's I'm back working on that. Other than that, I finished redrafting my Joe Allen prequel novella, and my first reader / editor, Hillary, has been through it and given it the thumbs up. So
nice.
So that's good. That's going well. And I shall be getting her feedback and then reworking it again and sending it to my external editor before publishing it on my website as a series.
Awesome.
That will be really interesting to see how that goes.
Yeah, it's like that's going to be definitely something a bit different for me. So we'll see how it goes. Hopefully, I'll get a lot of interest in it.
Are you going to do like where you just publish on your blog only, or are you going to do where you put the whole thing like on Amazon and then publish chapter by chapter on your blog?
The plan is I'm going to publish on the blog kind of publicly, openly for anyone, kind of like a chapter or whatever per week. The full story itself will be available as an ebook to subscribers of my newsletter.
Oh, okay.
Once it's all been, the individual chapters have been published and the whole thing's out there, I'll leave it there a little while, then I'll take it off my website and turn it into an ebook, which will become like a free ebook as like an attractor for my newsletter, but also on Amazon and so on, as like a lead into the series. So that's the plan.
Cool. That will be very interesting.
And the plan and my thinking is each of the chapters will also be accompanied with a little bit of artwork from yours truly,
nice.
setting up the scene for that particular chapter, sort of thing.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Wow.
That's going to start chewing some time on you.
A little bit, but I've got pretty quick at this now, so
yeah.
Oh, good.
Hopefully not too bad.
No, that's awesome. It's nice when you have something extra in the book. I think it just makes the book pop, especially when people looking at a table, especially the book signing. I know when people look through my stuff, all of a sudden they see a picture or they see the chapter heading and they, oh, that's pretty cool. So
Yeah,
it
sure.
makes the book that much more special. So how about you, Christy? What's up with you? I'm just going to disappear here for a minute until you announce me. So
Is there a costume? He's going to
I'm
dress
not
as
saying.
Richard.
You go ahead, Christy. When you're done, I'll come back in.
All right. Well, I'm anticipating this. I'm very excited.
It's not that great.
Yeah, for me, as you all know, I am publishing Prohibited Magic on Kindle Vella. So let's see, we're up to episode 6 is now published on Kindle Vella and Patreon. So if you want early access, you can sign up for patreon.com/Christie Stratus. It's only $1 a month, or you can choose more if you'd like. Otherwise, you can wait until every Monday, and it'll come out on Kindle Vella once a week. So I'm up to writing episode 11. I had to take a very short break in order to outline what I already had, because this is my very first time actually making it through a third book in a series. So like there's just so much in books 1 and 2, and now, you know, like of course 3 has its own problems plus some of the problems from back in book 2. So like there's a lot to keep track of, you know, and I realized I need to outline it. So I made a little outline of, you know, the first 10 chapters, and now I'm on episodes, and now I'm on episode 11. So I came into an
It's
interesting,
funny how those things catch up with you.
right?
Like the first, I didn't do anything in terms of kind of planning and keeping track of things for the first 2 Joe Allen books. And when I went into the third, it's like, I was like, oh my God, what have I done before? It's like, and so I actually, similar kind of thing. And I spent a long time kind of like working through the books and
Yeah.
building this kind of like series Bible for the Joe books, you know, sort of thing. And that's helped no end since then. So yeah, it's like, I know what you mean. It's quite the thing when you've got so much kind of backstory behind it. Yeah.
Yeah, and you have to remember all the things you've left open, all the things you're trying to close up in different areas, and there's a lot of them, obviously.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
I
Bingo.
started in book 1 for me, where I was like, I don't know, halfway through or something, and I was like, I don't remember everything anymore. I need to stop and write it all down. I ended up making this big, like you said, it's like a series Bible, and it helps a lot. But even so, I still needed to like outline what was happening in book 3, so I know where it happened and everything. You know, so that's that's what I've been. I think
So are these going to be available elsewhere, Christy?
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to do paperback, and I'm going to do ebook, maybe hardcover too. So I'm hoping to get book 1 out this year with a pre-order for book 2 as like whole book. So hopefully I'll be able to do that. I am
That'll be
going
great.
through, adding a lot more to book 1. I'm fleshing things out a little bit more since I have the ability to do that. I might as well. So it's going to end up a little bit longer and with some more detail that I think will make it more interesting and more historically detailed too. So I'm working on that at the same time.
That's
fun.
great.
Yeah.
So are we good to welcome Richard back?
Oh my God. I love it. How are you doing it? What is that?
Hey, Lassie and matey, doing very well. The reason I'm in this getup is this weekend is the Ontario Pirate Festival in Guelph. I will be there Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, which is the civic weekend. It's a long weekend here in Canada. And it's in Martin Park in Guelph, Ontario, which is, if you're in the States, it's probably about 2 hours north of the border. So come on up and see us, and maybe. Yeah, and it's funny. I'm glad you took a while, because I had my patch on upside down. I couldn't figure out how to put my pirate patch on. I didn't realize there was up and down to it.
Oh my God. For a second, Richard, it was so perfect. I thought it was a filter. I really did.
Oh, you thought one of those filters?
I thought it was a filter. I really did.
No, that's actually a patch. I had a patch last year when I was at the Pirate Festival, and I lost it the day before, and I didn't know what to do. So my wife, she really quickly crocheted me an eye patch. It was made out of wool, so I had this eye patch on that was made out of wool, and it was so stinking hot, and my eye was so itchy, and it was awful, so I couldn't wear it all day. But so anyway, I went out and got this really authentic plastic eye patch now. If I could see out of this eye, which I can't actually, I could use an eye patch because I can't see out of this eye anyway. It's actually got a little split here, so people that actually can see. But then my little hook, I just have to. I've got a parrot too, but he's hard to. I guess I'm gonna have to find him.
Your earring is very attractive.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, where is it? Oh, there it is. It's hard because I look at the screen and it's on the wrong side. Yeah. Oops. It fell out. I hope I didn't. Uh-oh. I am not poking fun your eye patch. I was very grateful that you made me one. CJ Davidson is my wife, and she's the one who looks after all my back end stuff, and she's the poor thing. We did actually the Fergus Medieval Festival last week, and I woke up and I felt totally fine, and within half an hour, all of a sudden my back, for no apparent reason, I didn't do anything, it just went out on me, and I knew I was in trouble. And so we had to drag the trailer all the way up to Fergus, and we had to set up, and I did nothing. CJ had to lug all the books are heavy.
Oh
Never done a book event. Books are awful. I have 14 books, so there's at least 14 totes that she had to lug with all these books and set up her tables. And I helped what I could, but I couldn't lift that stuff.
That's a good excuse, Richard.
Yeah, it was actually torture because it's my biggest event of the year, so I could not miss it. And I couldn't sit down because I was in so much pain, and I couldn't really stand up, but I had no choice, so I just stood there and grinned and bared it for the whole. But I think I really did myself a number because I wasn't really back to myself until Friday, just a few days ago. So it was quite the day. No, there was no rain in Fergus, so it worked out quite well. It was supposed to they called for rain, but it didn't rain. We've been lucky this year so far. So, but yeah, go ahead.
Aside from like your back, were you able to make the sales that you hoped?
Yeah, we did okay. Like my back didn't interfere in making sales, and I even put my knight's costume on. So here was I just felt like a useless knight. I couldn't do anything, and a couple people wanted to take pictures with me. I have this great big sword, Excalibur.
Yeah.
So I had to kind of carry this thing out around the tables and try not to look like I was dying, and
oh my God,
take a picture with them. And yeah, it was a long day, and I suffered because of it. But I couldn't have done it without Caroline slug and everything. So I felt bad for her, but. We got through it, and the back's coming around, and it'll be fine for this weekend as long as nothing goes sideways on me again. But so we got a 3-day event this weekend, and then before we meet again, I have another 3-day event. The following weekend is the Fergus Highland Games. So again in Ontario, but this is the Highland Games, so it's a Scottish festival. And last year, and I don't know if she's there this year, Diana Galvadon, who writes Outlander series, she was there.
Oh, wow.
And so there's a big difference you could see for authors, you can see the disparity there. So they bring her in, they put her in a hotel, they feed her, you bring books to her, she signed them. So here's me down in Vendors Row, away from where everyone's gathering to see her, and I'm selling in my little tent, and I'm hoping that someone will show up and take an interest in my book, and then they have to buy the book from me, and then I sign up for them. So it's funny because that's what we're talking about today is the writing craft and everything else, and everything about being an author. And that's one of the things we do. I talk about people. They asked me about doing book signings at a place called the Indigo Chapters, which is like Barnes and Nobles in the States, I guess. And it's really cool doing it. And I always encourage them, if they have the opportunity, to go to their chapters and set up a book signing, or I guess it's called Indigo now. And it's really cool to be in the bookstore and doing it. You don't get a lot of sales, at least I didn't, but just do it once. If you're an author, you gotta have these experiences, and to actually sign in a bookstore is really, really cool. So you're not going to get rich overnight, but it's one of the highs of being an author. So so if there's any authors that are watching or not quite published yet, there's a lot of dark days being an author. There's a lot of time, why am I, you just want to quit. Why am I doing this? Is anyone reading my stuff? And then there's the highs where you're doing these book signings, and someone comes up and actually buys your book, and they take an interest in your book, and then all of a sudden it makes everything worthwhile. So if you're an up-and-coming author, don't despair. There's a lot of good times too.
I approached my local chapters, and when they found out that I was an indie author, they just kind of like poo-pooed me.
Oh, no.
Oh.
Okay, well, I'm not talking for all chapters then, I guess, but that's unfortunate. generally chapters try to promote individual authors. Like what I did is when you go in there, I print the books myself. I bring them to them. They get a 45% cut of my book, even though they didn't put any expense into that book. So it's they're doing it for their own gain, not mine. But it's nice just to be in there. So if you get a chance to do any kind of book signings, and then you can be like Dave and I'm not sure if you do any book signings yet or not, Christie. Have you actually gone out and done events?
I usually just sell books when I do like a presentation. It's usually something like that, but it's usually also to other authors. So, but that's what I've done so far.
Yeah, no, absolutely. If Dave and we do Writers Fest, and a lot of times you're swapping books more than selling books. And I find if I do a Writers Festival, I'm not a literary author, I'm a fantasy author, a speculative fiction author. I don't know if they're looked down upon, but the most people aren't there for fantasy. They're there for literary fiction. So I don't do as well at actually writers events, but they're enjoyable nonetheless. Like I still enjoy doing it because I get together with authors like Dave and Mark Leslie we've had on here before, and Wanda is in the chat room here. Yeah. We get together and we get to meet each other, and that's probably the only time we get to see each other. But it's hanging out with people of your own tribe makes such a difference because most people don't get us. Like you hang around with your family and your friends, and no one wants to hear about your books. Like, oh my God, yeah, they might ask you a question or two about it, and then they glaze over and they're on to something else. So hanging out with a like tribe just makes the whole experience worthwhile.
Yeah, you're absolutely right there. Yeah,
it's an interesting thing actually, is that because I mean one of the things that I think a lot of authors kind of like struggle with sometimes is actually getting support from kind of family, friends, and so on. I've been very lucky. My wife Hillary is like an absolute star. She supports me kind of like 100% and always has. But what about you guys? I mean, like, what's your experience with support? And if you don't get it at home, how do you find it?
I get amazing support at home. Like I couldn't have done this without the support that I get at home. So without Caroline, I would still be an unpublished author probably. So right from the very get-go, like being an indie author, you're probably not going to be buying a Learjet anytime soon. And I'm not saying that it's not possible because I do writers conferences in Vegas, and there are 6 to 7 figure indie authors there. I don't know how they do it. I can't figure it out. There's no magic bullet for it. But you can make good money being an indie author. But without the support of Caroline, I would never have been able to leave my full-time job, and my full-time job was too stressful for me to actually get any writing done. So I would still be languishing in a courthouse, traipsing prisoners around and worried about my health because it took a serious toll on my health. So she allowed me to get out of the courthouse, and it just freed me up. And now I look forward to Mondays and writing. So I have amazing support. How about you, Christie?
That's great. Yeah. My family supports me as well. We happen to have 3 people here whose families all support them, which is great. And I didn't really run in when I was working in a corporation. I didn't really run into the very common problem people talk about of, saying that you're an author and people, like questioning it or sort of being like, or, that's not a real job or anything along those lines. Then again, I had a full-time job that was the corporation. So, I got a lot of good responses. I see like that people sometimes at work, when they have a full-time job, have a lot of trouble depending on the genre they write too. I see that mostly with romance authors, and there's a lot of judgment, and they'll say, "Oh, I write romance," and they'll get a negative response from people at work, or they won't want to say that they write romance. And for me, it's historical suspense, historical fiction, and that comes with a certain amount of people are always interested in the research and stuff like that. So I never experienced that myself, but I know there are people who do deal with that out there. So I've been lucky.
Yeah, it is tough. Like, as an author, especially an independent author, like you see people on Facebook and all these other social media. We're going to get to Hillary Stokes' question in a minute regarding social media. So this fits right in that, Britney Spears comes out with a new lipstick that's $150, everyone goes absolutely wild, and she sells like 7 million 7 million sticks, and all your friends, they buy it. All your whoever wears lipstick that are your friends, they can't wait to get their hands on it. And yet, you're their friend, you're their close friend. I know if I had a close friend, I would support them as much as I could, and don't expect them to pound the bricks for me, but I would certainly be supportive of them. And I think it's a serious misnomer when you expect that of your family and your friends to do that for you, because it's not going to happen for the most part. You're always going to have the odd person who's in your corner all the time, and you appreciate them because they're amazing. But the reality is that for all of us, not just me, not just Christie, not just Dave, most of our friends and family, they think it's cool that you're an author, no doubt about that. But that's where it stops. They don't support you. They won't buy they'll go out and buy a $6 Starbucks. They won't buy an ebook from you. They won't put a review on Amazon for you. They won't do anything for you. And it just blows my mind, because if I had a friend, before I became an author, I had a friend who was an author. I would think that was incredible. I'd be buying all this stuff, even if I never read it. I would just buy it to support them. And it just flabbergasts me that doesn't happen. That's not reciprocated by. But so if you're an author and you're discouraged by this, don't be, because we all go through it. It's not just you. It's not just your family or your friends that aren't supporting you. It's everybody. Every author's
all families suck.
And not everybody. You'll always have that one or two family or friends that are amazing, and you really appreciate them. But don't get mad at the ones that don't, because that's just life.
It is. Yeah, I've had the same experience. I've had people who really supported me, like in the office, for example. They'd really support me and say, "Oh, that's so cool," and ask how it's going and everything, but not buy the books, any of them. And it's just the way it is, you can't. At first it was disappointing, and then I saw that other people also go through this, and I was like, "Oh, okay, well, it seems to be normal. Everybody seems to experience that." So,
I have friends who come see me at events. Oh, I see you here, and they might just happen upon me, and they'll start chatting me up for half an hour, and everything. It's great to see you again, everything else. Then they leave.
Yeah.
In the back of my mind, I'm thinking, oh, they're going to buy one of my books. This is going to be really cool. One of my friends is going to have one of my books, and then they walk away, and you just kind of hang your head like, geez, you just feel downtrodden, and it's not their fault. They're not interested in reading, or they're not readers, or they don't like your genre, or whatever. I'm sure they don't mean to slight you, but it's hard. It can be emotionally devastating sometimes when you got this really, really good friend who comes and talks to you, and you got your books all out, and this is a really neat display, and then you walk away, and you go, what the heck? And then you go buy something from cheese. I got a cheese sandwich or something that's made out of cardboard and fake cheese, and they come on, really?
That's true.
So I'm just going to get to this question here,
and
it's from Hillary. Let me pull it up here. It says, I'm curious to know what your approach to social media right now is, as there seems to be so much turmoil in that area. Have you changed what you're doing?
I have.
I've
started spending less time on for Instagram, for one. Once they started, I used to get on Reels. I used to be able to depend on Reels, and I would get thousands of views on a Reel, which was really, really cool. And I would mostly talk about our show and sometimes other things. And then I think it was when they opened Reels up to everyone, and not just, maybe it was the US and Canada or something. It was limited. They opened it up to everyone, and all of a sudden it just dropped. And I'm like struggling to get past 200 from having an average of 30,000. It was a huge drop. And it was really disappointing. And
you had 30,000 views?
No, 3,000, an average of 3,000. It could go up to 6,000. Wow. Yeah, it could be 1,000, but it was in the thousands, and I was really excited about it. And it would bring new people. They would look at my stuff. Some of them would follow and all that. But then it dropped so significantly when the rest of the world got added, which I still don't think makes that much sense. It seems like the content just isn't being circulated for certain things, I guess. I don't know. I'm not an expert on why, but after that, it was definitely discouraging. And, I was putting up regular photos, but they're not doing a whole lot. So I started only posting here and there. It's like once a week or less, and it doesn't seem to make a whole lot of difference. Honestly, it doesn't make much of a difference, because social media isn't necessarily for selling anyway. It's more for awareness.
Yeah.
So in that way. And then on Twitter, I sort of gone, or X, I go on and off of using it, and sometimes I'll have, good amount to say and I'll get more participation because I'm participating more. But as soon as you stop that, it drops, so like, I don't always have time to be on it all day, or thinking of things to say constantly, and forget Facebook. I think where I spend my most time is really Facebook groups. So my Facebook group is where I spend the most time. It pushes that out. It does not push my page out. Randomly, it'll push my page out, but most of the time, it doesn't even do that. So I just focus more on my newsletter and my group, wherever I'm actually getting traction. Those are the two places that work for me.
That's awesome that you had 3,000 views on something. I don't think I've had 3,000 views on all of my posts combined since I started in 2017. It's not true. If I post a picture of my cat,
yeah,
if I posted maybe 100 pictures of my cat, I might get 3,000 views overall. But I get no traction whatsoever on any kind of social media. So obviously, I must not be doing it right.
No, that's not the case, Richard. What it is that all of them, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc., they're basically all kind of like really kiboshed, like any kind of organic distribution of your posts. They just don't let people see them. So even people who are following you don't see them. When you post things, Richard, it's like a lot of the time I don't even see it for days.
No, I understand. I understand that. I'm in a great, big, massive book readers group called the Book Lounge for Readers and Authors, and great group. It's everyone's all book oriented there, and I see some people will post things and they get tons of comments, they get tons of hits, and then I will post something similar, and there's a couple of people that are very amazing on there. They're always supporting me and sharing my stuff. Those are the only people that ever interact with me. And I'm thinking, why is my post any different than the other person's post? So it's very frustrating because like I see someone else post something, and in my mind, I think it's like they're looking for sympathy or whatever, and they're getting tons of hits and stuff. That maybe I should look for sympathy. That's not who I am, but it's so mind numbing. It's a rabbit hole you go down into, and there's, in my mind, that you don't get much gain out of it. It's like, but that being said, I did sell 6 hardcovers to someone in Tucson, Arizona last week.
Oh,
I just responded to a post that he put on in that same group, and I just said he was saying that he likes hardcovers better than soft covers, and I said I do too, or something like that. And all of a sudden, he checked out who I am, and then next thing you know, he bought 6 hardcovers. It was awesome.
That
and even with the Canada postal rate, I figured as soon as I told him the Canada postal rates, that would kill that sale. But no, he still wanted them, so he must be an avid collector. And he doesn't even know me, so I think that's amazing. Like, when someone
I sold a book on the back of the last live read we did.
Oh, good, nice.
Oh, nice, awesome. I don't think I've ever done that.
Thank you, Christie.
Oh, yeah, it was me.
Oh, okay.
You're talking about me. I actually bought it during the live stream. I was enjoying it so much.
Oh, nice.
I actually went over and bought it.
Oh, that's cool.
While we were reading. I couldn't wait.
We got a comment from CJ says, agree, spending less time on social media and harnessing the power of the people we meet at events. There is so much on social media that we get lost into just marketing approach just doesn't work today. And that is so true. Like, you just, like Dave was saying earlier, you're lost on there, and the platforms aren't allowing people to see you. And so what I've been doing lately is I've been culling my Facebook friends list. So people want to interact with me now. If they're not really my friends or authors that I've made acquaintances with, I'm slowly starting to weed them out. And because they're not responding, they're not doing anything on my Facebook page, but they're taken away from the feed that I think that I would be getting from people that, like you and Dave, that are more important to me on my friends list. On my actual author page, that's different. I will accept anyone on my author page. They're more than welcome to come in and look. And I honestly get hardly any traction on my author page. I get a lot more traction through my social page. But
I got so little on mine, I just took it down.
It's tough. Social media is a tough nut to crack.
It is.
And now we've got also the other problem that they're all basically milking us to pipe into AI systems so that they can steal from us. There's an announcement today from Melon Husk. Twitter's now doing that.
Have they already started, or is it going to start?
It's going to start, I think. I'm not sure when.
Yeah.
So,
I'm really mad about that, I know.
yeah, so I mean, like, that's the other thing. I mean, like, I know, for instance, like with Twitter, I mean, kind of like artists and creatives are leaving Twitter by droves because they don't want anything to do with this.
Yeah, we're pretty well ready to shut down our Twitter accounts. I do nothing. My wife looks after a lot of she looks after Instagram and Twitter because I have no idea how they work. And so if you ever get a response from me on Twitter or Instagram, it's probably my wife responding to you because she's like my personal assistant. I do all my correspondence basically through Facebook. I just find at least, or Messenger. Like I'd rather go through Messenger and actually have a real time conversation with you, as opposed to are they going to respond to me? And then you look for that little hit on your Facebook page, and then you got to get in there and talk to them again. I'd rather go through Messenger. So, this is a response from Wanda, and I believe she was talking about when David said he sold a book off the back end of our library. Just wanted to get that in there. Go ahead, Christy.
Yeah, you were talking about culling, sort of, who you're friends
Yes.
with. I've started doing that on Twitter, culling who I'm following.
Yep.
And it's hard because one of the toughest things, I think a lot of people will relate to this, is that as an author, a lot of the people who follow you end up being authors, instead of just straight up
Yes.
readers. It's very frustrating because, I mean, that's great, like connecting with fellow writers, but you're not getting straight up readers either who
That's
have
right.
Bookstagram accounts or whatever it is that you're looking for. It's really tough. So I have started like cutting some things that are just not important to me, or that I haven't been posting very often, or that have nothing to do with me, anything like that. And I did, on a second note about that, I'm looking to see if that has an effect, but I haven't done much of it yet. So I'll let you guys know if anything happens. But I did read something about originally when Elon Musk was saying that with Twitter, he's going to do this whole thing that David is talking about with the AI scraping. I like how he was upset that other companies were scraping Twitter, but then he's going to do it himself. So that was a cute move. Anyway, he had mentioned public stuff, not private. And so I was thinking of privating my account, and I'm wondering if that will mean that it doesn't scrape my account. I saw other people talking about it too. I'm not 100% sure if that was just him talking, or if that is really the case, that if you private your account.
I think the potential problem with that, Christy, is that if you private your account, people can't find you unless they kind of know you.
Yeah, that is a problem, and I don't want that really. Ooh.
Sorry, I must have missed the part about scraping. So what is the scraping doing?
So basically what they're doing, Richard, is all of the data that you publish onto Twitter. So anything you write, any pictures you post, any kind of like music, sound, anything. Basically what they're doing is they're siphoning all that up and feeding it into their AI system to train it to replace you effectively.
So it's ugly. This happened on DeviantArt too, a while ago, toward the beginning. You remember that? And people were leaving in droves. They couldn't figure out how to opt out because there was no opt-in. You were just automatically opted in. And they, artists, of course, don't want AI just scraping their stuff and then using what they learned from you, in free art. It's not really fair.
It's basically mass automated plagiarism.
Yeah, that is what it is.
That new Threads, that's already in there. And that's owned by Meta, so you can expect to see the same stuff happening on Instagram and Facebook as well soon, I'm sure.
That AI is certainly an interesting topic because that's not just art; it's going into writing as well, and they're starting to get predictive. It's almost like predictive text, where the AI is starting to write the book for you. You start feeding stuff in there, and it'll populate. I actually attended at the University of Waterloo, had a class about 2 years ago, and they wanted to interview me and asked me if I'd ever used something like that to help me if I was in had a writer's. I've said many times before, I don't believe in writer's block, but they said, if you were struggling with writing a story, would you use this? So I did it with them for about an hour, and it was pretty cool what he did. But I said, no, I would never use that because that's not my thoughts. And I think the thing with writing is that I don't know how AI is actually going to replace authors, because a computer has never been on the edge. I'll use the edge of the Grand Canyon. I remember my wife and I went to the Grand Canyon a couple of years ago at that writers conference in Vegas, and you could see as many pictures of the Grand Canyon as you want. You say, "Oh, that's pretty cool. It's pretty big." Everything else, it almost brought us to tears standing on the end of that and the edge of the canyon. It was so amazing, and the feeling that you get as a human being, if you can put that into words, a computer will never be able to do that. So I don't think a computer is ever going to replace us, but I think we're going to get a lot of tripe that's going to come out on the internet, and it's really going to make it harder for, especially for us indie authors, to get any traction, because there's going to be so much crap out there that's AI generated, and people are going to have to try and weed through it. That it's going to be harder.
You're right there, Richard. That, like, I mean, obviously a computer can't reproduce that feeling, but what it can do is it can steal your thoughts when you write them down, and just up thoughts when you write them down, etc., etc., and it will just jumble them all up and produce something that looks kind of the same.
I mean, already, I wish I could remember this guy's name, but I can't remember. It was the guy who came up with an AI writing program, and he said, "Oh, it's not to replace authors. It's just so readers have something they can read in the meantime while they wait for their favorite author that's similar to their favorite." So basically, it's replacing authors. So that is the goal. That is what they're trying to do, is come up with technology that can replace us, you know, and obviously, as he said, without meaning to, write like your favorite author. So that's scary. I mean, nobody wants that to happen. Well, we don't want that to happen, we authors. I think there are a lot of readers who might be against it too, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
I just have a comment here. It makes me put it on the screen. Oh, this is, I think these things are going to help us authors not be replaced, and you're going to start feedback like this. So this is a lady I met when I used to sell during COVID at the St. Jacobs Market. There was no other place open, and she's a visually impaired woman, and she talked to me, and we had a nice discussion. And she found me at an event, and she saw me last week, I guess, up in at the Fergus Medieval Fair, and she bought Rega's Flight. So obviously she's very much enjoying it, and I think those are the things that will make authors irreplaceable. Is you know, you're not going to have an AI computer sitting at a desk signing books, whereas you know, we can still do that. So thank you, Ashley, for bringing that up. It's people like you that really encourage us and fuel our muse and make us want to keep writing. When, like I said earlier in the show, that writing can be very dark pastime, dark project, a dark whatever job sometimes, where you get months and months where you just sit in front of your computer writing a book and trying to get the next one out, and you just wonder, am I wasting my time? And then you have someone like Ashley come around and say, "Hey, Richard, I love Rega's Flight," and away you go again. So thank you, Ashley. And thank you all the readers that support us. We appreciate it.
Anita has a good comment too.
Yes, I was just going to bring it up here. Copywriters are the ones that have to worry about the most. Sites already using AI to blog and post articles.
Yeah, I actually, Anita, I'm glad that you said that, because I have already seen both marketers and writers saying that they use AI to do their blog posts. And scarily enough, I've seen a number of writers say that they're using AI to do research, and this is a big mistake because it makes stuff up. Like, it is 100% wrong. Some of the, well, much of the time, actually. I've seen a lot of examples of it, and I'm talking about screenshots. You know, like, these are real things. It's wrong. It's wrong a lot. It's not at the point yet where it's coming up with correct answers. It does make stuff up. It does even get math wrong. I don't know. Be careful. Do it yourself. Really, seriously, you can do it yourself. Don't lose that ability. Do it. I get the time thing.
Sorry, Christie.
No, I get the time thing, and you know, the argument is like, it takes so much. Yeah, exactly, Anita. It takes time to do the research. It takes time to write the blog post. What is your work, your words? You know what's right, and all that. If you're trusting AI, you have no idea if it's correct or not. And like I said, I've seen it firsthand. It's wrong a lot.
Ashley also says all humans have a unique touch that people pick up on. This is the same with music. Most hardcore music enthusiasts would agree that vinyl will always be the way to go. You guys are absolutely irreplaceable, especially the more you write from a place of deep feeling, the more it will touch people. And that's what I was touching on with the experience in the Grand Canyon. When you experience love, you write about your feelings towards one another. So every book, I don't care whether it's cozy mystery, whether it's hardcore science fiction, whether it's fantasy or whatever, it all boils down to the relationship between two characters or the character and the environment. It's always boils down to the same things. It just the cool thing about science fiction is you can have spaceships, and the cool thing about fantasy you can have dragons, but it's still at the end of the day, it's a story about feelings between the characters. And if you can bring that out, I don't think it matters what genre you write in. People will love the story.
It's true. Yeah.
So I wanted to touch on Christie because this is my interest, and this is what I want to do with my next project. I thought about doing it with this book, but it's like book 4, and I figured, well, it's probably not a good place to start. I wanted to touch on Vela. Like, what is your experience with Vela? Do you find it worthwhile doing? And what's the process? I know it's a big question, but if you could sum it up in a nutshell.
Yeah, I'll do my best. So as you, hopefully everybody knows, Kindle Vela is basically publishing and reading on your end, if you're a reader, episodes. So you're reading one episode at a time on Kindle Vela, and the first 3 episodes are free. And after that, you pay in tokens. You buy tokens. And that's, I mean, it's not like a completely innovative idea. Of course, other places besides Amazon have already done this kind of stuff. But this is Amazon's answer, having episodes. So personally, I have found it worth it. For me, it takes me a while to come out with a new book. So in the meantime, my regular books are, you know how it is. You have the initial spike of sales, and then it goes down, slowly like that. And in the meantime, I'm trying to write. Well, the first day, you know what I mean? You have the first day, the first week, whatever it is. And so anyway, with this, you can publish once a week, and people, are reading it, and you get paid for that, which is great. So for me, it's been worth it because it takes me so long to write something, at least along the way. Now I'm publishing, and I can get paid along the way for my work. Now, personally, and this is just me, it's not the same for everyone. I am doing better with Kindle Vela than I've been doing with my paperbacks and ebooks. I don't go to big events like you do, though, Richard and Dave. So I don't do those outlets, at least not at this time. I just don't have the amount of books to do it right now. But, so for me, Vela is working out. It's going from the writing perspective, from the publishing perspective, I'm making more that way. And, some people will publish, like a book they've already written, which makes a lot more sense than what a lot of us are doing, which is, writing it along the way and publishing it. You don't have to you can do either way. But I mean, it's great. The faster you can publish, the more you get into the algorithm. I can't publish as fast as everyone else. So it's once a week for me, but that's good enough for me. I don't mind. And I do well with it. You do have to push it all the time. You do have to push it in groups that are about, serial reading, episodical books, stuff like that, Kindle Vela dedicated groups. So that does take time, but it's been worth it for me so far.
And we talked about it before, and I know the process that. So once you're done your Vela, then after a certain amount of time, is there a grace period before you can actually release it on as a full book, or can you do it right away?
No, it's 30 days. 30 days. Last I saw in the instructions, it's 30 days. And I believe that they actually say it's 30 days from the point of the most important thing in your book happening. It's something really specific like that. But if you want to be safe, you publish the whole thing, wait 30 days. And then
so the most important in your book, just have it on the first page.
Yeah. Can you imagine? You also
start with the climax and work backwards. Yeah.
It's against their terms of service to do what some people do on places like Wattpad, which is to publish let's say 3 chapters and then say buy the book on Amazon. So you can't do that. You have to publish the full work.
Okay. So and so I think I know the answer to this, but what's the advantage of Vela to readers then? Obviously, I see the advantage to you. You can actually start publishing your book before it's actually done, as long as you can edit it properly as you're going. And being an editor, that's probably pretty easy for you. But so what's the advantage of Vela to readers?
Well, one of the things that they now have is comments. So readers can actually comment on every episode and they can say what they think, which is really cool, you know. And some writers were not happy about that, but because they don't really want every episode to have comments and feedback. They're afraid of like negative feedback.
Right.
You know what I mean? And too much stuff like that. But you know, it has comments. The other cool thing is that you can have author's notes at the bottom. For me, because I do historical, I decided to put all kinds of cool historical details down there and tell you what is true about the piece, what has happened in real life, cool stuff like that. And people seem to really appreciate it. The other thing you can do at the end of every episode or whatever episode you want is to have a poll. And that can help you, some readers decide, or writers rather, decide which way they want to go. Sometimes in the story, I've heard writers say that, like they'll ask, who do you want to do this or something like that. And it lasts, I think they tell you, you can choose the amount of time the poll will last, but, and it keeps readers engaged also because they get to participate. Yeah, so it's a lot of fun for them. And you are allowed to link elsewhere in your author notes. You can link to your Facebook page or your Instagram, something like that. You can do that. So I think that's one of the big positives. But I will say, I have found so far that the Vela audience is over here for a writer and everything else is over here. So like they don't typically mix. Like if this is a Venn diagram, they're over. They're just, they don't touch.
Right, but you're picking up readers that you wouldn't normally have.
Yeah, you are picking up new readers, which is really good. You don't get, if you're going to publish only on Vela, you are probably not going to get that many of your readers, unless you're big, unless you're like really huge. You know, you're not going to get as many readers going over to Vela because they want to wait until you publish it as a whole book.
Yeah. So I just want to bring up a couple of comments here. Wanda says, exactly the research I do for my writing is work, of course, but that is where the passion comes from to feed in the characters and the story, bring them to life.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely true, yeah.
Definitely.
And then Ashley's, I'm going to try and read it. It's actually before I went blind, I had read a few of your books from my local library, and being able to meet you in person after going blind rekindling, going through those books. The more authors get out there and make those human connections, the more interest it brings. Saying hi and getting your own copy at the medieval fair in Fergus, people thought it was so cool that I personally knew you and told me that they were totally going to check you and your books out.
That's great.
And then it stops there, so I'm not sure what else went on in your comment, Ashley. But thank you for that. I appreciate it. And if you see, I don't have many reviews. That getting reviews is like trying to find a unicorn. I think especially for independent authors. But and that's a whole nother show we could do on trying to get reviews. But
actually, once you've got 25, like Amazon just sells them for you.
but it's a lot of my reviews come from people I meet at these events, and they really appreciate just being able to talk to you. A lot of people see, and I know Dave's gone through this too, where people look and they see science fiction and they're going, oh, they don't see Asimov, or oh, they don't see Herbert or Heinlein or whatever, and they start walking away. And then if Dave says, oh, I'm the author, these are my books, and all of a sudden they're engaged because when they see you, they think you're a bookseller. They don't think you're the author. And once they realize that you're the author, all of a sudden, oh, that's really cool. And they want to talk to you. Not everybody. Some people just go, oh, you're an indie author, and they just walk away. A lot of people are very, and especially if you're local. Like, so Dave did the Graphicon in Sudbury recently, and they realize he's a local author. And that means a lot to the people that are up there that, they're actually supporting locals. So I'd say half of my reviews have been generated by doing these events. And that people appreciate actually being able to talk to the author, and I will take the time to talk to them as long as they want. And
it's great.
Most people that are buying my books, why wouldn't I? So, and it's funny. One of the questions I get is, how much to charge for an autograph? And I would never charge for an autograph. Like, you're buttering my bread by buying my book. I would never charge you for an autograph. I want to say thank you, in any way I can. So, thank you for Ashley and everyone else that's bought my books.
Great. Yeah, actually, while we're on this topic, I had a question for both of you. And basically, I was wondering, since you both have done like conventions and conferences and all kinds of stuff, like, I was talking about before, the things I've done have mostly been when I talk to writers groups, I'm really talking about finding an editor and things like that. So it's not the same type of thing. But for you, you've been to all these different events. What are, like, some of the best practices you have when you have a booth? Like now that you have done a number of these events, what would you say is some of the best practices, both of you?
Go ahead, Dave.
Oh, thanks. Put me on the spot. I think one of the things I certainly kind of remember from my earlier experiences, and I think Richard saw this as well, was if you've only got like one or two books, you're probably not going to generate a lot of interest just because you haven't got the mass number of books. So, you want to have, I would say, at least maybe kind of like a one series or like 3 books or something out before you kind of like really want to start it. But there's no harm in doing it if you just want to get your feet wet, sort of thing. But if you're kind of looking to get the most out of it, I think you need a few books kind of like to display there. My first one, I only had kind of like 2 books. One was my first novel, and the other one was a collection of short stories. And I mean, I got interest, and like lots of people kind of like were very friendly. But I mean, obviously, you just haven't got that much to sell. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
So that would be one thing. I think, and this is just a kind of general thing that to me is kind of like important. It's like whenever you're doing anything like this, always be polite and don't kind of like, start kind of fighting with anybody or, kind of like, kind of like dissing the organizers or anything like that. I mean, there's a lot of people put a hell of a lot of work into these shows behind the scenes. You don't always know what's going on there. And so even when things are like kind of, maybe not going as well as you'd hoped, it's like, kind of like just smile and kind of like just take it easy because, there are a lot of things going on behind the scenes that really you don't know much about. And having organized events from the other side, it's like I can tell you the amount of work that goes into them is absolutely phenomenal. So it's like, just kind of like chill out and be kind of like friendly and nice, and not just kind of like the organized, but I mean like other people with other booths. It's like don't start getting kind of like upset over sort of like silly little things. It's like you need to go there with a very positive attitude, I think. And that also goes to like people who come up to your booth. I mean, as Richard was saying, I mean, you get a lot of people who come up, they sort of like kind of kick the tires and then just walk off and go and buy themselves a Starbucks or, whatever. And it's like, and you're kind of thinking, geez, you could have bought a book for that, for less than that. And again, you just have to kind of like take it all with a bit of a pinch of salt and kind of like say, well, it's like, yeah, okay, it's a little bit annoying, but that doesn't matter. It's like, and really focus in on the people who do buy your books and try to make the experience absolutely as good as possible for them. Because, it's like for you, they're another kind of like reader, but for them, you're like an author. And the experience for them is like completely different. And to them, they'll probably see it as quite a special thing. And, you're kind of like thinking, well, it's just another person who's bought a book. And it's not, that's the wrong way to think about it. You have to kind of like consider how it is to them.
Yeah, that's great.
Ashley says, I agree, David, building community, not competition. And that's absolutely true. As being
Absolutely,
an author,
yeah.
Being an author is not a competition because most of us, not all, most of us write maybe 1 book a year, if that. Some of us write a couple. There are some that write them once a month. I don't know how they do it, but they do.
Yeah.
But for the most part, authors don't publish books too often, so it's not like you're buying a loaf of bread. You need them every week. So it's certainly not a competition. We should be supporting each other. And she says, I write for Blind, Visually Impaired magazine, and there's a mix. Some of us have built a very loving community, but others have viewed some of us as competition. And building community has made us popular with readers. Absolutely. You're not.
I mean, even like these people who write like a book a month, it's like, I mean, there is no way that one author can write enough books to keep feeding even one reader.
No.
Like, because I mean, like, you can't write a book in like 2 days, but somebody can easily read a book in 2 days.
That's true.
So,
that is true.
But
Yeah.
so like Dave says, I think choose the size of the event according to how many books you have out. So like I do these pretty big events. I did the Fan Expo in Toronto last year, and I was guest author, but I had to pay for my booth, and it was not cheap. Trust me, it was a lot of money. And in order to make that money back, you have to sell at least double that in books. So because you got to pay for the print costs, you got to pay for your transportation up there. You have to pay for parking. You have to pay for, like, we were in Toronto. We're not driving back and forth. If anyone's familiar with Toronto and where we are, it's not fun driving in Toronto, especially at night. It takes you probably an hour and a half to go 4 kilometers in that town. It's just a nut house. So you actually get a bed and breakfast. So now we were up in a hotel for 4 nights. I had to sell a lot of books just to cover my costs. So I have a lot of books, and that makes a big difference. People can buy this trilogy or that trilogy. So I have a lot to offer. And I have people that come in and they'll buy everything because they're afraid they might never see me again. I had a lady from Calgary bought all my books. That's how you get them back. And she said, I have 2 empty suitcases I bought just for this reason. Not for me, but because she knew she'd buy books at the Toronto Fan Expo. So it makes a big difference if you have a lot of books out. Like, Christie, you're getting into your trilogy. I would think once you get your trilogy done, I think you're ready to start doing smaller places.
Sure.
If you only have 1 book out, don't shy away from doing book signings events. Just choose your event. Like, don't do the Fan Expo in Toronto because you only got 1 book.
Right.
You have to sell. I don't know how many books you have to sell to make up, the $1,500 is going to cost you to do that event. But there's so many small little writers events that cost you $10, $20, $40 to set up a table. And some are even free. If you look around, sometimes you can find them for free. They'll bring you in there. And you might only sell 4 or 5 books, but you're getting the experience. Like, I remember the first one I did with David was in the Graphicon in Sudbury in 2018. And I just had 2 novellas out. And, Dave he's got his books out. He's already done a couple of cons. So he was kind of more of a seasoned professional at that point. And I remember someone looking at me, and they picked up my Trolls and Evil Things, and they asked me what the book was about. And I just had a blank stare. I did not know what to say to them. I wrote
an elevator speech.
That book better than anyone. I did not know what to say. I said, "Oh, here, read the back cover," and I felt so stupid. But that's how you learn. So I've done so many events now that it's just people get bored of hearing me saying the same thing over and over and over again. Like, I know my elevator pitch, and it changes every time I say it, but it's basically the same. And it's just, you got to get yourself out there. So if you have 1 book, 2 books, pick your venues, pick the ones that are not very expensive, and just go out and enjoy the experience. Start working on talking, interacting with people, because a lot of us authors are introverted. We don't do well out in the wild. we're used to being in our cage. So, but get yourself out there. You have to. If you want to sell books, if you really want to sell books, you have to get over yourself. Like, that's why I do these shows now. I got over myself. There's no way I'd ever speak in public before I met Russell Trimble, and I will talk about Russell Trimble in a few minutes. He's a very special person that has got me. Without him, we would not even be having the show, but we'll leave that for now. So also brand yourself. So as an author, especially if you're writing series, start branding yourself. It took me a bit to realize that I need all my covers to look the same, so that when people look at it, they go, "That's the Soul Force Universe cover." I have a logo, and Dave's actually done some work with me, 3D work with my logo. He's played around. I did a little video with it. It's really cool, but people recognize my logo. So it's on my spine of my books. It's on my banners. It's on my table cloth that sits down. People recognize it. So people have bought my books or seen me at other events. I remember you. And when I was at the St. Jacobs Market, they remembered my dragon banner and they remembered my logo. And now I even have a 14-foot trailer that I drag around, and people see it going down the highway, or they see it sitting in a parking lot at an event, and they will come in because they want to see me. And it's don't think it's that great, because it's not that often, but it's really cool when someone says, "Oh, I saw your trailer there, so I came in to see you." That would happen a lot more, but it's really neat when it happens. So, and like Dave said, own it. So when people are at your table, tell them you're the author. Brag about being the author. Like, let them know I am the author. And like I say, some people will just turn their chin up and walk away. Like, you're an independent author. I don't want nothing to do with you. And that's fine. That's not the reader you're looking for anyway. You don't want to waste your time with that person. But most of the people are going to be engaged, and they're going to go, "Wow, it's really cool." that you're the author. I remember it when I wasn't an author. And even now, if I met Terry Brooks, I'd be like, in La La Land, I was, oh my God, I'm fangirl all over him. And so it's a really neat experience. I don't see that for myself. When people come up and say, oh, I love your books and stuff like that, it's a neat feeling, but I don't feel like I'm special. But I know they think that. So own it, own the author. And another thing to do too is to sell other stuff. So I sell dragon jewelry. I have shiny things, and people see these, oh, there's necklaces and rings and stuff like that. Oh, what's that? And they come over and, oh, that's nice. And they look at my dragon jewelry, and I go, oh yeah, and I'm the author too. Like that green dragon eye, that's the dragon eye from my book here, from Lurker. He's Lurker.
That's a good idea.
And, oh, that's really cool. And then you can, sometimes they'll talk about your books, and sometimes they'll just buy the dragon jewelry, but you're still making some kind of income there. So once you do these events, you obviously want to sell your books. That's why you're there. But I've made so much money just selling other stuff. Wanda Janaway is amazing. She makes all these awesome bookmarks with all these trinkets that hang off them, and she finds them at good prices, and she does a killing. Like, we do writers events. When I do writers events, like I say, I don't sell a lot of books at a writers event. Wanda sells a lot of stuff at writers events because everybody wants a bookmark. Everybody wants a special bookmark, and she makes them in all these different themes. Like, everybody there who reads a book wants a bookmark. Not everybody who goes to writer's event likes fantasy. So I see Wanda do very well when she does that. So we can learn something from Wanda as well. And one thing I do too is I try to make sure to ask them to leave a review. And not most of them won't, but if you can stick it in their head, I have a little card I'll stick in a lot of times in the book. Please leave a review after you're done if you like the book. And I always joke, if you don't like the book, don't do it. Don't leave a review. Don't like the book, but. And she storyboard bookmarks. And I know she has journals and stuff like that too. And it's all this stuff, this extra stuff. You want to sell your book. That's why you're there. Is you want to sell your book. You want to get your story in people's hands. But you need something to generate an extra income, and you need something to get them into your tent. Not everyone's going to see my dragon and go, I'm going to come in. So
right, yeah. Those are great answers.
Yeah. I could go on forever about this. I actually did a talk at one of the authors' places around here.
Oh, did you? Oh, nice.
Yeah, they invited me to talk about that stuff. But yeah, it's another one of those subjects that you can go on forever. And David will do something that's different than me, and it works for him. Like the way you display your books.
That's true.
Like it sometimes makes a difference. Like I saw Dave. I think Dave and his wife they'll fan their books out on top of each other and stuff like that. They make these really neat designs with them sometimes, and it's just eye catching. It's just something that people go, oh, what's going on over there, as opposed to just having the book sitting there. So
yeah,
that was something that Hillary actually learned from somebody through work who was doing some. I think they were doing some training on presenting books in a library. Which is where she works, and she kind of like she attended this training, and when she was like going through the training, she kind of like thought, oh, we could do that. And so that's how it all came about, and it seems to kind of like catch people's eye. So
that's smart, Wanda. What she says next.
Sorry, I'm just catching up on these comments.
Unfortunately,
with the subscription we have now with StreamYard, I'm the only one that controls the comments, I think. So poor Dave and Christie have to sit there, and they're at my mercy. And sometimes I miss them all. I apologize if anyone's made a comment and I don't get to it. I know Ashley's got another one here, especially with audiobooks. You can almost do 2 a day, but it takes forever to just write one. And this goes back to what we're talking about. Dave was saying that you can't write a book every 2 days, but they can certainly read them or listen to audiobooks or whatever. Absolutely. And Ashley's saying, get a wingman. I would totally be a wingman and would love to come with you guys and totally get people chatting about books and which book they should start with. That's awesome. I often joke about people. Some people will, they're return readers or whatever, and they'll see other people at my table and they'll start talking about the book to them. So I'm not even having to I just sit back and go.
That's great.
And that's really neat because it shows that other people actually have read your book. They're actually interested in your books, and it makes the new reader a little bit more wants to read your book. So that's fun when it happens. But again, it's not like I have this great lineup behind me every time I sell books. I don't. So
I think you'll see, Christie, once you've got your trilogy out, I think you'll probably see a big jump. I certainly did when I finished the first 3 Balan books.
Yeah.
For some reason, and I don't actually understand this because I was never like this when I was doing my huge writing phase when I was younger. It's like, but apparently some people now have this thing where they won't start reading a book unless like the whole series is out.
Yeah.
Which I find kind of weird because how do you know?
Yeah.
I get that comment a lot. Yeah.
I mean,
I have gotten that too. I've gotten that too. And they'll say, "Oh, I'll wait until it's all done."
Yeah,
like, oh.
and you probably never see them again. But yeah,
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, like for instance, like with mine, it's like I ended up with 4 Joe Ballon books, and I've now done a prequel, and I've actually kind of like recently come up with about 3 ideas for about 3 other books with Joe Ballon. So it's
I knew
like,
you wouldn't die. I knew it.
They're just like, yeah, I thought it was over, but he obviously had other ideas.
I knew.
I see. Wow, we've gone like an hour and 5 minutes now, just rambling on. So
we can always do another one of these.
Yeah, we absolutely will. We absolutely will, because this one came about because we just didn't have time to get another reader in here. We like to have an extra reader. But speaking of that, I'm going to shut us down now and talk about what's going on. Our next our next episode will be on September 12th. It's the second Tuesday in September. That's generally when we do these, not always. So it's generally the first or second Tuesday of the month. Depending on what's going on in the 3 of our lives. Sometimes we have to switch them around a bit, but we will always post it on our social media so you can follow us. And let me just pull that up. I've got it here. So on September 12th, we're going to read an excerpt actually from one of my books, Wizard of the North. That's actually my second book. And it was the one book in my trilogy that I had no idea where it was going. I always, for 35 years, I knew the first book and I knew the last book. I had no idea what I wanted to do with the second book, but I knew it had to be in there. And then when my artist actually put a staff in my one guy's hand on the cover of Soul Forge, which was never supposed to be there, I told him, Marco, I said, take that staff out of his hand. Why would you do that? And he said, it's because he looks like a wizard. You described him as a wizard, so I put a staff in his hand. And I thought on it for a few days, and all of a sudden it hit me. I knew the second book. And I got hold of Marco. He's in Italy. He's Italian. I said, Marco, you are brilliant. Leave the staff in his hand. I want it on the cover, and now I know how I'm doing with book 2. And it just filled in everything. So we're going to be reading an excerpt of Wizard of the North, and we're going to have guest author R.D. Trimble. He's known in the writing community as Rusty. And like I say, Rusty is the inspiration for me to do live reads. He's the inspiration for me to do anything live, to actually get out there. I would never do that before. I remember signing up for my first interview. I canceled it a couple of days later because I was petrified. I didn't sleep. I figured there's no way I can go on live and talk to people. Mm-hmm. And through Russell doing the live reads with him, he actually reads other authors' works, and I started doing that. And then it started getting me more confident. I finally got over myself. I know I'll never be a good speaker, but as an author, you need to get out there. And if you want to sell your books, you need to get out there. It's scary. I still don't think I do a great job at it, but I don't care anymore. I'm me, and people get used to me. And then through that, I met Christie and Dave, and we started doing this.
So on the next one, Hannah will return.
Yes, there you go. Awesome. See, I typecast you with him again, but he's got long hair in this episode.
Uh-oh.
Yes.
I'm very excited.
He hasn't shaved his head yet.
Manage.
He's got a long beard and long hair, so I can't wait to see the rest of it.
We will manage.
So anyway, join us on September 12th as we read excerpts from Wizard of the North and from Russell Trimble. He writes crime fiction, and we're going to be reading from his just-released book called The Hit Mom. So we look forward to doing that, and I look forward to talking to Russell. I think you guys will really love him. I don't know if he wants me to say anything or not, but he's an amazing person because he is on the autism spectrum, and I remember him doing his live reads, and he'd stutter sometimes, and he'd just persevere, and it didn't bother him. And something happened in his life, and he started stuttering a lot more, and he was starting to take flack from these insensitive people online, and I think it just united the rest of us to support him that much more. Like, and so, but he you know, he's gone through whatever therapy he does and everything else, and he speaks fine again. But you know, it doesn't matter whether you stumble or not. I loved his courage. It didn't bother him. He was just himself, and he wanted to do this. And without him, I wouldn't be here doing these live things. Lurking for Legends would not be in existence. So I want to say thank you to Russell publicly when he comes on in September 12th. So I look forward to seeing him.
I'm excited for that one. That's gonna be great.
No, he's a great guy. So anyway, thank you, Christy, and thank you, Dave, for listening to me ramble on for. I think I stole half the show here, and I didn't mean to. I apologize.
No, it was helpful. It was good stuff.
It's fine.
But, you know, thank you. It was great talking about these things. And if anybody wants to join in the next roundtable discussion we have like this, send any one of us a message, and we'll include you. We can get up to 6 people on here. We thought about doing that this week, but we just let it linger a bit too long, and then we dragged our feet and we didn't really So if anyone wants to participate in a roundtable discussion with us at some point, we'd love to hear your ideas, because what works for me doesn't necessarily work for Christy, and what works for Christy won't work for Dave. It's certainly a crapshoot being an independent author, that's for sure.
For sure. Yeah.
All right. You guys have anything else to say?
I have nothing to say.
Nothing, that's it?
Painfully, I have nothing to say.
I can't believe
Thank you, everyone, for coming and for questions and your comments.
Yeah, thanks.
I can't believe Dave is speechless. If you ever get Dave in a couple of beers going, he is not quiet. So. Anyway,
what a lie.
That's why we keep him way up north. Anyway, take care, everybody. Thank you for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you on September 12th when we get back into costume and props and everything else for our live read on September 12th. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Right.